very good morning to you. Welcome to Motivation Monday, where we bring you challenging conversations and inspiring stories. Now, if you heard just a bit, even a bit of my own story, you would realize that I grew up in what we conventionally call a single parent home. I was raised up without a father, and so for the most part of my life, I grew up with my great-grandmother and my mother together with my siblings. Today's conversation is exactly on this dynamic of one-parent homes. And the title for our conversation today is One-Parent Home, Blessing or Brokenness? That is what we will be talking about today. And helping us with this conversation is Minnie Ngina, who has done a lot of work within that space, helping parents with their children, especially in such unique circumstances as the conversation that we are having today. I don't know if you're one of those that grew up in such a home, or if you are one right now running such a home. Well, I do pray and hope that today's conversation will be meaningful for you. And so send us your comments as we go along on 20316, which is our SMS line, or 0786 316 316, which is our WhatsApp line. But for now, let's get right into this conversation. Welcome.
Asante sana. Thank you very much, Reverend Mokaya. It's an honor to be here.
Asante.
Yes.
Now, for the sake of our audience, I guess it's good to just begin by you introducing yourself to us.
All right. My name is Minnie Ngina. I am the CEO and founder of Student Tribe Limited, which is an organization that was started to take care of the family unit in a very interesting way. We do psychosocial support, we do e-learning support for learners, and we also empower them with financial literacy and management. Our core focus is any child between 3 years and 24 years.
Okay.
And then we take it further. This child comes from a home. So we deal with the parent.
Yeah.
And we don't deal in a punishment way. We take care of the parent.
Yeah.
And then this child is also taken care of by a teacher. So we take care of the teacher. So our core pillars, our 3 pillars that we support the ecosystem are the child, the parent, and the teacher within the education ecosystem.
All right.
We're an education technology company, and so whatever services we offer are offered within the technology platform, which gives our members the number 1, easy access. Number 2, psychosocial support is a very wide scope. And there are issues to do with mental health, there are character development challenges, which we don't always want to talk about.
Yeah.
So what do? We give technology. Technology hides your face, so you get your solutions, but you're behind a machine and getting positive assistance. Yes.
All right. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. And you're a mother as well?
Yes, I'm a mother of 2 amazing children, a son who's 26 years old, who's also part of the business, and a 16-year-old girl. Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
All right. So we are talking about the dynamics of the one-parent home. And the question we are asking specifically is it a blessing or is it brokenness? Because part of how that whole dynamic is referred to is, broken families or broken homes. And I guess the beginning point would be this whole idea of the family unit. How is it supposed to function?
All right. 2 things in the beginning.
Yeah.
We are Christians. Our foundations are biblical. In the beginning, when God started the family unit, he started with 2. There was Adam and there was Eve. And he goes further and tells us that a man shall live. It's all that is in the book of Genesis. Of course, you're the man of God here. So
No, please. We are all ministers of the new covenant.
Well, it is written, a man shall leave his parents, his father and mother, and the woman shall cleave to the man. So you see, the family unit started with 2. A husband and a wife.
Yeah.
So when we now come back and now look at the family unit of where it's a one parent or a single parent home.
Yeah.
If we are looking at it from a biblical foundation perspective, we would say it's broken. But then now we dive deeper. We have instances where we've had single women in the Bible.
That's true.
And we still see God's grace shine upon these women. I don't know, either the Hebrews chose not to document their single fathers then.
Which is difficult because men tend to remarry and things like those.
Exactly. Yeah. But you see, we have the widow who housed Elijah.
Yeah.
We also had a widow who took care of Elisha. You get?
Yeah.
So
we have Naomi.
We have Naomi.
Yeah.
And we even have the daughter-in-law Ruth.
Ruth, yeah.
Who was also a widow and then went back and remarried.
Yeah.
So we would say broken on a technical perspective, but then bring it back to the feet of Christ and see the element of restoration that Christ brings. So yes, broken from a technical perspective, but from a renewed perspective, because that is what Christ came to do.
Yeah.
He came to restore the broken. So we are going to look at it from that perspective, but then also the dynamics of what we are calling broken is that it has its issues.
Its own unique challenges.
It has its own issues. It has its own impact on the parent and on the child. So it's that what we call in English a double-edged sword.
Yes.
It cuts both ways.
That's true.
Yes.
And I think it's important to mention that any kind of parenting has its own issues.
Yes, it does.
Even when you have both the father and the mother together, there are challenges and issues. But we are talking about the unique issues and the unique challenges, you know, in this specific context. Now, just then tell us, for someone that finds themselves in a one-parent home, whether that be the parent or that be the child, what are some of the unique challenges that are experienced in that kind of a setup?
All right. From my own experience, being a single parent, a single mother for this, there's responsibility overload. Because what happens is when you have both parents, dad drops the kids from school, mom picks the kids from school. Dad goes for soccer games, mom goes for swimming. And you know, it cuts across. If there's rent to be paid, dad takes care of the rent, mom takes care of the food and the house girl and whatnot. So the responsibilities are shared. In a home where both parents are there. So what happens when you're the one? That responsibility is overloaded on the one. It's a lot to bear.
That's true.
And it can be very, very overwhelming. And especially when you do not have a support system around you. And when I say a support system, is a strong network of friends or family that actually walk with you, that single parenthood of yours. The other one is, of course, now responsibility overload then comes in financial strain. Because remember, you would have split the bills. So now, it's not just the doing of things, which is going to school to do X, Y, Z. It is also now the component of you now paying all the bills. So woe unto you if your financial abilities are not wide. And again, you do not have a firm support structure for the flow of finances. Then there's the mental strain. And the mental strain, emotional strain, goes both ways. It affects the mother, it affects the child. It affects the father, it affects the child. And I really feel for men. You know, women are emotional beings. And women, I'm told we talk 10,000 words a day. In those 10,000 words, it means in my circle of friends, I will call so-and-so, I'll tell them my frustration, and so I'll offload. And whoever I call will come back and help me go through that. Now, men don't talk.
They just, all of it is contained within.
Exactly. No, but either way, whether male or female, emotional strain is there. Because now you're overwhelmed.
Yeah.
There's too many things going on. You have these children. Every child has their own unique needs. You yourself,
you also have your own.
You have your own unique needs. And it is very strenuous. Very, very strenuous.
Yeah.
Now, that's the parent. Because you're trying to figure out all those things.
Yeah.
So it can be overwhelming. And again, responsibility overload has its challenges. Because all you're doing is you're fixing. You're addressing.
Yeah.
I need to, Mom, I need, Dad, I need. So you're running all over the place. You do not take care of yourself.
That's true.
You don't go to the gym. You don't go for swimming. You do not have a social life. So the strain is real because you also have no output. And your responsibilities. And the thing about being a single parent is that, and that's something I experienced until I realized, oh, there's a God in heaven.
Yeah.
And these children are being given by God. So when things are overwhelming, I will run to him. I reached that point. Then I realized, oh, I have a companion. Really. I will not be stressed anymore.
Yeah.
I reached a point where I tell God, you're the one who gave me these children, so you need to give me a solution for this. These are the monkeys in my forest. Please arrest them.
Yeah.
So, and I would see even with my mom, because my father passed away when we were kids. And there are days I'd tell Mom is not fine.
Yeah.
But you see, I was too young to figure it out. I could tell. And so when we close school, all of us are shipped to Ushago. And you know, Ushago there's plenty of food and all that. But then, now when we talk, is when I realize this was not easy. And my mother tells me some of the stories, like not too long ago, she was explaining to me, she had to do, and my mom always, overtime. She was a civil servant, now retired. She's turning 80 in a month.
Oh.
Yes, she did overtime through and through.
Wow.
She always had a bag where she used to sell things. My mother sold mandazi. My mother sold bras and panties and petticoats so that she can subsidize the salary. And remember, she's a widow.
Yeah.
So she didn't plan that. It just happened.
That's true.
And she was left with 4 children to raise. Now, luckily for my mother, she had her sisters, and especially one who she was very, very close.
Yeah.
So we were moving from shoshos to aunties, back and forth. So we had a very good support system. And so that means when Mom was going through a very, very rough patch, and now I understand it because now I'm an adult and I'm a mother, when things were too much for her, then she would put us in auntie's house or in shosho's house, which was very good because my grandparents were both alive.
Yeah.
My auntie is still there and her husband is still there. So we had a father figure in our uncle. We had a father figure in our grandfather.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the strain was not that much where we would, yes, sometimes I sit and I feel I wish my dad was alive or he was around.
Yeah.
And now that is what happens to the children.
Yeah. Because there's a significant part of your life, a person that is not present.
Yes. And the reality, and that is the reality, and now I'm speaking from my own experience.
Yeah.
Yes, Dad, who I call Dad to date, yes, was my father. He was there. He picked me up from school.
Yeah.
He bought me nice clothes. In fact, the other day I was reminding him, and he was like, I bought you a dress. I told him, yes, a black one, a beautiful. And he was shocked because he even doesn't remember. But for me, it was so significant. He bought me shoes. He took care of me.
Yeah.
He bought me cake for my birthday. But I still yearned a father that was my father.
Biological.
Yes. I still yearned.
Yeah.
Because because this is my uncle, so he's not fully taken the responsibility of being my father, so he won't come for the parents' meeting. He will not cancel me. Yes, he will, but I'm not his child.
Yeah.
So he has boundaries as to how far he can take this counsel or this discipline and so on. Then my grandfather was too old, so their conversations, even in the context of as a girl to a father to a girl, he was too old and felt that was not his area. So you see, there are gaps.
That's true.
And that is the same thing that happens to now anyone raising a child without a father or without a mother. Either way, there's a gap, an emotional gap that needs to be taken care of. And now, the challenge is we are Africans. There's a stigma element. Even within some church institutions, sadly, that single parents, and especially women, are put aside.
Yeah, and people have questions. Sometimes they question even the morality of the person.
Exactly. No, you're judged before you even show up.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. The moment you own, I'm a single parent, you're pushed aside or edged out slowly. And that affects you, depending on how strong you are or how strong your faith foundations are. For some of us, we went over that. We went over, I'm single, it's a big deal. We went over and we owned our decisions. But there are some of us who are still sidelined.
That's true.
So some of us opted to stand in ministry as single parents and run with it, knowing very well, and I understand, because also biblically, remember, the Bible tells us that none shall lack a mate, even the animals. And we are above animals.
So it becomes this, so to speak, out of the ordinary kind of situation where it almost seems like God has ordained a certain natural path, and this seems to sort of veer off from that. But I want us to take a pause, take a short break as we just, sort of marinate on that. And then when we come back, we continue this conversation. But there's something you mentioned that maybe would be important to touch on when we come back. One is a majority of people don't plan to be single parents or to lead one parent home. So that is an important. But then the other one is the yearning that children have for either parent that is not present. But let's talk about that when we come back. Yeah.
All right.
Please do join us after this break as we continue our conversation on one parent homes, a blessing or brokenness. See you after this break.
We have been able to bring you impactful content, including family matters.
Physical abuse supersedes just what is visible to the eye. It might be emotional. It might be, someone, using words, verbal. Over and above, sometimes it's physical. There are people who are seated in a relationship today, but it's, a mental game. They are experiencing, a loved one who constantly is abusing them, or who is constantly, gaslighting them. Manipulation becomes the order of the day.
When you're married and you're just sweeping things under the carpet all the time, and you're not resolving stuff. So I just remember, like, one day, him stepping on me. I think we fought, and he stepped on my tummy. So I got my child via CS, and so the wound kind of opened up. So they had to rush me to hospital. I was okay. It was just something tiny. And from there, it kind of escalated. So we never really dealt with our issues. We just kept on sweeping them under the carpet.
There is a lot of shame. There is a lot of guilt. In our African society, marriages are upheld as, sacred institution. And how do I say that I am going through this? And so one of the quickest wins for our viewers and listeners this morning would be, you need to speak out. You need to speak out. You need to speak out, to a trusted friend. You need to speak out to a church community. I love the fact that the church is coming out strongly. I've seen the adoption of divorce care in various churches. And that's a good space because a church, as I said, is a big referral facility where everyone who's ailing, including the pastors, get to find shelter. All right? And you realize that abuse happens to anyone and everyone. And therefore, creating that sense of spiritual support is a good thing, because especially for us believers, we tend to say exactly what June said, deuces, God, this didn't serve me, allow me to ingia kiwanja kidogo, see how the grounds look like, all right? So unaingia kwa kiwanja, you realize, hey, things are tough, so let me go back. So the spiritual support is actually very, very good.
We acknowledge your support and prayers towards keeping Jesus on the airwaves. But as is clear in the world we live in today, we need to reach even more with the encouraging and life-changing word of our Lord Jesus Christ. To become a partner, SMS the word partner to 20316. That's 20316.
Welcome back. This is Motivation Monday, where we bring you challenging conversations and inspiring stories. My name is Elijah Mokaya, your host, and our guest for today is Minnie Ngena, and she is just helping us unpack this whole conversation on one-parent homes. Blessing or brokenness? That is what we are talking about today, and I hope that it is a blessing to you even as we journey along, and we'd love to hear what it is that you are learning and in what ways this particular conversation is actually challenging you. But for now, let's get back to this conversation. Welcome back.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. So before we went on that break, I'd already hinted at something that I would want you to touch on.
Yes.
Because you had mentioned, for example, the story of your mom. Your dad passes on, and she's not prepared. She's not ready to be a widow. There are some, perhaps it's a question of divorce or separation. No one has planned for that. Or it could be a lady, for example, gets pregnant out of wedlock, and now there's this child and the father is not in the picture. Or a man, you are left with a child, all those dynamics. But I don't think anyone plans for a one home. There are a few, perhaps, but a majority of people do not plan for one-parent homes. Just touch on that a bit, because I think it's crucial even for our conversation.
All right. Indeed, you're very right. Nobody sits and decides, you know what, I'm going to be a single parent. No, because even the design of how God created us is we yearn to have the companionship of another person. And the deep, intimate companionship. That's how God created us. If anything, remember, when he was starting, he said, let us create man in our... They got bored. The triune God got bored. And
you're entering into strange theological ground, but...
Yes, but he said, let us create...
Yes, that's true.
Man in our
own image.
In our own image. So my understanding of that is even he needed companion.
Well, it was an expression of God's love. God already had companion. Just because I am a pastor, I would have to clarify that. God is so self-existent without need of anything that in himself he exists as community. So he has everything he needs within his nature. But I hear what you're saying.
I mean, I'm passing that in a very light connotation. Of course, I understand that and I appreciate that. Now, so here I am. I've lost my husband. First of all, I'm traumatized. I mean, that is the natural reaction. You're shocked. You do not know where to begin. You're confused and all that. But here you are. It's not your fault. You did not wake up and decide today my husband should die. And that is why you need community. You need community around you. There's the institution of the church. There's the institution of the fellowship within, not even the church, the leadership, but the people in your small group, community life group, or house group, or cell group, or whatever church you go to. Every church has its own statutes of the small groups. They come in handy.
That's true.
They come in handy. But now, the dynamics of the life in that home have changed. And that is where now you... As much as your head is all over the place, you also change the structure of how things run. Because the automatic reaction, children will crave as they go, because the larger percentage of the community we are living in is a married family, is a complete family. So the children already start feeling odd one out.
They feel there's a lack somewhere.
They already start feeling it. And so the automatic reaction is to crave even long before they fully understand the role of this parent who's no longer there.
Yeah.
Because deskmate, my dad did. This one, my mother did. The other one, my mother did.
Yeah.
So you see that, and it starts at a very tender age. I was doing a holiday camp in November. And this boy, we were like 30 kids, and this boy just comes and we start talking. And for whatever reason, he decides, Teacher Mini, that's what they call me when I'm doing the sessions with them, is a good person to talk to. So he comes and tells me, no, you know me, us, we don't have a father. We just have an uncle, and I don't know what. And you see, why is he telling me that? It's because he wants me to understand him. And he's such a sweet boy. Very sweet boy. The other day, I'm walking into a property somewhere where I know certain children because the school, in a school I serve.
Yeah.
And one of the boys comes and tells me, you know, my dad hasn't been home for this week.
Wow.
And that's a father who's actually part of that home.
Yeah.
But he's been absent.
Present but absent.
Absent, yes. And nowadays he doesn't come home. He only comes on this day and on this day. I think he's traveled.
Wow. And the child is already conceptualizing those things, even at a tender
That's
age.
an 11-year-old. The worst age for a boy, especially to fill that gap.
Wow.
So it is, and it's detrimental. And it's one thing that mothers and fathers must appreciate. When God, the unique standard of how God created us, that's why he made women emotional and men logical.
Yeah.
It's because the role of a woman is the role of a woman, and they are emotional. They were given the intuitive character in them by God so that they pick things.
Yeah.
Before you pick, I am sure, Reverend Mukaya, your wife picks very many things before you pick them, even about your children.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
That's it. So what happens is when this parent, one parent is not there, there's an automatic emotional vacuum. Actually, it's not only emotional, it's even character.
Wow.
Let's take it further.
Yeah.
A girl knows how to groom herself from who? Her mother. Even a boy knows how to groom himself from the mother. A man will teach grooming, but he cannot do it as efficiently as a mother would.
Yeah.
Who teaches resilience? A mother. Because a mother, you fall, you've fallen, sorry, let's wipe. So the tender touch of a mother creates resilience because it is loving, cordial, molding, nurturing, and all that. Then a father teaches logic. Unataka kusongesha ile? Unafanya hivi, unafanya hivi.
Yeah.
A man then affirms the child.
Yeah.
These other soft, tender things are being done by the mother.
Yeah.
Then the father comes and affirms. Very few of us women are able to do the affirmation as well as a man would.
Yeah. And the affirmation of a man is very different.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then now let's go back to the Bible. The man is given the priesthood.
Yeah.
He's the head, and the woman the neck. So who is the priest? Who's the high priest of that home?
Yeah.
You see, it's even from a biblical perspective.
Yeah. It becomes quite challenging.
It becomes very, very, and you see, those are the things we don't look at. And those are the realities.
Yeah.
So if you're not alert to these components, you'll find as your child is developing, there are certain character attributes that you can't quite tell what they are. And one of them is they start dealing with abandonment because they feel even if they never knew that father, or even if they never knew that mother. In fact, it's always easier For us who know our parents died.
Yes, that's true. You have some sort of closure.
Yes. There's a grave.
Yeah.
So even when you're in your thoughts, you say, if only dad you were alive. If only mom you were alive. And now you start looking at life from a gratitude perspective, because then, and I really am thankful for my mother, because she made sure we didn't quite feel that gap. We didn't.
Yeah.
We had the support system of family and extended family. Oh my gosh, I'm spoiled for choice. Even when I once had an incident where my son had been picked by the father and I had to go pick him up. And I just went to I called my mother, I told her, Mom, this has happened. Could you? She told me, yeah, let's go and look for Uncle Mungai, one of my mom's cousins.
Yeah.
And we picked my son. It was so easy.
Yeah.
I've never lacked fathers, and there are many. I'm spoiled for choice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Professionally, I have a father. Biblically, I have a father. Socially, I have a father. As in, that is there. Now, it is worse when you actually never knew. Or you know he is somewhere. And these children, and our children today are even smarter than us. Technology has come, it has done things.
Yeah.
So our children feel that vacuum more. And then remember, you're a single parent.
Yeah.
Overload of responsibilities. So
you're also not as present as you would want, because your time is also strained. Wow. But for the sake of our time, it's not all gloom and dark.
No.
There are some positives, you know, even with this kind of dynamics of one-parent homes. What would you say are the positives that are still inherently present?
I am a product of a one-parent home. So if a product like Minnie can come out of a one-parent home, and it was not by design, our father died, we were taught resilience. So one of the things that children who, when the one parent has actually fully taken the responsibility of being a one parent, a single parent, they tend to teach their children a lot of things. So these children are bred as, number one, very resilient. They fight. They take responsibility, they take ownership, they take accountability, they take the lead in things. So you'll find, and I'm not bragging, my daughter can cook a full meal. She's 16, but she can cook a full meal, and she could do that, I think, from when she was in class 6. In fact, I was unwell back in 2020, and I went major surgery, and all my sister would come and do is brief my daughter what to do.
Wow.
My sister had to go to work.
And she would handle it.
She would cook for me everything as I want it, as I should have it.
Wow.
And she knew my medicine time, and she knew my meal times. Because I was in bed for some time. After the surgery, she fed me. And she was only in class 6 or 7 then.
Wow.
So you build and nurture very strong children, amiable children who will go places. I mean, look at you.
It's true.
So there's that. Then because of that resilience, they also come out very responsible. And the irony of it, despite the gaps that they feel, they actually come out as with very high EQ. Because remember, they've come from a very tough situation. And normally, women are very resilient naturally. So especially children raised by single mothers, they come out with a very high EQ. And because of that, they will thrive in any season.
Oh, wow. That's an encouragement, because you can imagine a parent or even a child, you know, tuned in and listening to this, and they're like, wow, you know, it's all doom. But to hear, and there are, I mean, plenty story. Ben Carson, you know, the author that many people read, you know, Gifted Hands, also coming from a single family home, you know, raised by a single mother, and yet taught him and the brother to be very resilient and, you know, to be the best that they could be. So there are plenty of stories like those, and I think that is a very good encouragement to parents and even to those in those kind of setups. Yeah. But before we take another break, I'm just wondering, for a child, for example, that comes and asks the parent, and maybe we could respond this in a minute or two, and they want perhaps to know their father or their mother. Usually, many cases, it will be children who want to know their fathers, because the majority of the cases are, you know, led by mothers. What would you advise? Because I have found there are those who feel, huyo mtu kila alinifanyia, I want nothing to do with him. I want nothing with him doing with you. What would you advise?
Now, a child has every right to know who their father is.
Yeah.
Whether he's a murderer, even if he's in committee. Mpeleke.
Wow.
Because the dynamics, let's be adults, the dynamics of, at the time the conception happened, it was willing buyer and willing seller.
Unless it's an extreme case.
Exactly. Which is rare. It's not
it's not the norm.
It's not the norm.
Yeah.
But in a case where you were already in agreement at the time of this child being conceived, let the child know the father. Then walk with the child, because some of us are not nice. And that's the reality.
That's true.
Across both sexes. We are horrible. Anyway, even the Bible tells us the hearts of men are naturally deceitful.
Wicked.
No one can fathom or understand. And that is said twice, because even after God malizaed us with the flood, he still said he will not finish us. We are bad people. Anyway, so that notwithstanding, let the child know. Let the child know, unless the man has decided hataki. And if that's the case, please, in fact, what I tell people is, yes, some things are hard to bear. Get a counselor for that day when you're disclosing that the father doesn't want to meet the child. But if the father is alive, wherever he is, let this child meet the father. Because what you've satisfied a desire.
That's true.
And if the man chooses to stay away, the child will know it is the father who opted to stay away.
Yes. It's not you who kept them.
No. Remove your conflict, remove your issues from, don't extend your issues to the child. Because what you're doing, you're actually traumatizing the child. Wow. And you know, not trauma of you hit once, it's that trauma that erodes slowly. You know how water just erodes a stone slowly and cuts it? That is what you do when you keep denying your child access to their father.
I think that's quite intense, that it's slow by slow erosion. Ongoing trauma. Wow.
Because the child will start hating themselves, because it depends on the dynamics. Maybe you're even struggling. And so the child believes you're struggling because there is no father. And you see, children have the ability of the brain of a child is amazing. So they will build all sorts of ideologies in their heads, and they will blame you.
And it begins with them blaming themselves first.
They blame themselves, and then they blame you, then it comes back because they start, I'm the reason.
And you can prevent all that.
Yes.
Wow. I want us to take another break because I think these are weighty matters, quite weighty matters.
Quite weighty.
And then when we come back, we talk about mitigating factors, things that we can do to at least make the situation better, yes. Even as we wrap up our conversation.
Indeed.
Please do join us after this break.
My name is Kennedy Ngoge Karaoke. I'm born again. I love the Lord as my personal Savior. I am married to one lady, Caroline. I think for the past 16 years, I have 3 children, whom I adore, and I work as a teacher for the Teacher Service Commission.
From those early days knowing about family media, Kennedy has grown in faith and spirit through some of the programs on TV and radio.
I watch Joseph Prince, talks about grace. So when I talk about grace, it's like I learn more of what I can be gracious to be. I don't become judgmental once watching that. Then I watch Joel Austin for hope. If I want to know something about hope, aspiring goodness, Joyce Meyer's teachings about everyday life, everyday decisions, and always reflect so much on on her past and the way her walk was. Jack Van Impe, when he talks about the future, yeah, he talks about eschatology, the study of the future. So all these speakers, they have a different niche, and they are all in one platform. If I want to know the Word of God, I know specific about this area, there's a speaker who is there for that.
Giving financially to enable God's work through media has not been easy, but with time, Kennedy has found assurance by trusting in the Lord.
Initially, when I started being a partner, I was working very far from my family, and I was taken. It was very far, and those days we didn't have pay bill like the one we use today. So we would go to the city. I would go to Cooperative Bank. Yeah. Then we line up like for a whole day, almost like 2-3 hours for us to make a deposit. So there is this incident. One day I was going to my place of work, so I had to pass through Cooperative Bank, and it was getting late. So I lined up. There was only one vehicle that was supposed to take me to my workstation, and I was afraid that it's going to leave me. So I had to make a choice. Should I deposit this money, or should I just line up and then I'll just go and God will send me a vehicle? Then it so happened, I lined up, I deposited. Then when I went to take the vehicle, that vehicle that I was supposed to use got an accident. So some of my colleagues, they fell on top of it. It was a Land Rover. They fell on top, they got accident. So I asked myself, so God told me to go and to participate in His Word, and He's going to secure me. He's going to protect me. That is when I came to love the Word, giving. Because out of that experience I learned, I was able to come late. I missed the vehicle, but I was spared a lot of harm. So I've been a partner. Yeah, I've been a partner for a long time. That was around 2006.
We acknowledge your support and prayers towards keeping Jesus on the airwaves. But as is clear in the world we live in today, we need to reach even more with the encouraging and life-changing word of our Lord Jesus Christ. To become a partner, SMS the word partner to 20316. That's 20316.
Welcome back. This is Motivation Monday, where we bring you challenging conversations and inspiring stories. And today's conversation is on one-parent homes, blessing or brokenness. That is what we are discussing today. And helping us with this conversation is Meaning Gena, the CEO and founder of Student Tribe. And already this is proving to be quite a conversation. So before we are bad by time, I want us to just jump right in so that we are able to cover as much as possible. But please keep sending us your comments, your feedback. Would love to hear from you. Welcome back.
Thank you very much.
Now, while we were on that break, we were just talking about this idea of the net impact, of some of these things. Kindly do talk about that before we even talk about mitigating factors.
All right. So now, the other major issue the majority of us don't even realize is the overall emotional development of a child. So here you are, you have one, most especially the father is missing, meaning the affirmation has lacked and all that. It affects the child to very bad extremes. Yeah. And especially where you've taken the double role, so your availability and time is not utilized around children. So poor EQ, poor emotional development, and affirmation, confidence, all those things. And again, because there's a parent who's absent, so the children start looking at ways to fill in the gaps.
Yeah.
Because the role of a parent is not only to nurture and provide, there's a love component of it. And that gap is felt. So the children start looking for fillers.
Of that gap.
Yes.
That love gap.
Yes. So if you're a single parent, and busy is your other name, because you need to pay these bills,
Yeah.
it means you're absent emotionally. You don't have time for your children. You don't even notice the development process of your children, and that affects who they are. So they start looking for fillers. If they're teenagers, that's how they get drawn into bad company, because you're not giving them company, and you're not giving them attention. You're not there to properly guide them and nurture them. And some of us in modern day, we even exclude community from us. Unaingia kwako, unafunga mlango, that's it.
Nisikuone umeenda kwa mtu.
Which is good when you understand we're living in an evil world, but the downside of it also is equally as detrimental. So, drug abuse, early sex encounters, because they're looking for love.
Yeah.
And you see,
in all the wrong places.
Exactly. Our children do not understand the 4 love elements. Them, they know love as one simple thing. They don't know eros, they don't know agape, they do not know the difference between those loves. So they start, and especially once they start going into puberty. You'll never hear a 5-year-old is taking drugs. It always starts 12, 13. That's when they start discovering. And so they will go in all the wrong places. So it is actually, because now you're dealing with abandonment, you're dealing with rejection, you're dealing with low self-esteem because nobody has affirmed this child. And remember, affirmation is given by the man. Don't be cheated. That's the reality. The confidence I have is because my grandfather told me, Ngena, you are this, this, this. Because dad, to date, tells me, you know, you're my daughter. I'm very proud of you. To date.
Wow.
I meet my uncle. Oh, Ngena, you've done very well. Thank you. Keep it up. Yeah, that's the way to go. So that element of affirmation will always be given by a man. If a child is not given that affirmation, they will go look for it in all the wrong places. So you'll get early teenage pregnancies. You'll wonder where they're coming from. But it's because a girl was told she's beautiful, and there was no one to tell her she's beautiful on their side. And by the way, it's not our nature as women to tell our daughters are beautiful. Well, me, I do, but it's not.
But it doesn't have the same.
No.
It doesn't have the same impact.
No.
Because you'll be told by a man.
Yes. And by the way, the moment that is said, it won't even matter how old that man is. So even the girl will not realize when she's falling into the hands of an abuser.
Wow. These are the net impact.
Yes.
Is it also sometimes, because I have heard people who have said many cases of homosexual behavior also sometimes stem from the brokenness in our families?
Yes, it does.
Oh, wow. Now, because we only have a few minutes left, what then do we do? What are some of the mitigating factors that we can do?
Okay, first and foremost, notwithstanding that I've not remarried, but there is hope. Our God is a God of restoration. So even if it fell apart, our good book tells us that none shall lack a meat. So that is, let me first encourage my people, my girls.
There is hope.
There is hope. All right? Now let's now move into why have I thrived? Or why have I done, I think, a good job? Not necessarily 99% good, but it's good enough. I asked for help. Do not be afraid to ask for help. Involve the community and society around you to raise your children. In your small group, be part of a community. And not a community that creates a star, a community that actually creates a bonding.
Yeah.
All right? Then take care of yourself. So when you ask for help, it means you're able to divide your time.
Yeah.
Because your own mental health is critical to your success in parenthood.
Yeah.
So when you ask for help, it means you can take your children one weekend to their sisters, to your sister's house or to your brother's house,
Yeah.
and take some time off. Go for even counseling, not because you're unwell,
Yeah.
but just to let off. Wearing gumboots and high heels at the same time is not a walk.
It's hard work.
Yes. Then the other thing which has really, really worked for me, and even with my mother, is the element of honesty. Be honest.
Yeah.
If the marriage fell apart, use age-appropriate language to communicate to your children.
Yeah.
I separated with your father, I separated with your mother, or we are divorced because this happened and for me it was too much.
Yeah.
For me, I love my peace. To date, I don't like a space where my peace is being interfered with.
Yeah.
I keep saying my childhood had enough drama, just everything that happened, so I really want my peace. So be honest.
Yeah.
Have candid conversations, including money.
Okay.
We are not going to go anywhere this holiday because my budget is tight.
Yeah.
I have to pay school fees next. I have to buy you uniform.
Yeah.
I have to buy you shoes. And sometimes I've even had conversations with my daughter where I make her choose. Choose what you want us to do. Do we do this or do we do this?
Yeah. Because the finances are limited.
Exactly. And so they are part of
Yeah.
the decision making. So that makes them your supporters.
Yeah.
Because you've involved them
Yeah.
in your management process. So they're your cheerleaders. Go mom, go daddy, daddy, we understand, you know, and such things. Then, when you're absent, you lose your children. So if you've chosen to wear the shoes of a single parent,
Yeah.
be present. I don't know how you'll do it.
Yeah.
I did it. And it made me very unpopular when I was employed because I used to tell people I am first a mother, then your employee. So if you deny me an off day because I need to take care of my daughter, then deduct it from my salary. I am going. We are not negotiating. And that has been my principle. It's made me unpopular where I've worked in environments where my bosses are not understanding, but it has worked.
Yeah.
And for me, that has won me a medal with my children. Yes, I am their hero.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then there are two things that unfortunately affect single parents. Because of wanting to fill in the gaps of the other absent party, our boundaries are fluid. And that affects the character development of a child.
Yeah.
If you want to be a successful single parent, you must set your boundaries and rules clear cut.
Yeah.
And where they're broken, there has to be consequences to be suffered.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you'll be in trouble because you'll have a very destructive child who's not tellable, who's not coachable. And therefore, if you don't set those boundaries, that child will remain forever dependent on you to their adulthood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then now the other thing is that once you set the boundaries, you've also created a structure of resilience and a sense of responsibility, which means that now your children understand the grand dynamics of life. Because even out here, you can't go doing what you want.
That's true.
There are rules and regulations. And because there are rules and regulations, it means even building something takes time. And so when you set those rules and regulations, you've built the character. And what is character development? It involves integrity, it involves resilience, it involves amiability and fluidity to certain situations, because the sun can be shining and then all of a sudden it pours. So what happens? We stop living. We don't stop living.
We adapt.
Yes. So yeah, that's more or less.
Yeah. and I like that last bit in terms of you know, putting boundaries, because I think what happens when one finds themselves in that situation is you overcompensate.
Yes.
As a parent.
Yes.
And so you end up doing more harm than good. One of the things that I know you do is you help parents. You know, you touched on the 3 pillars, and one of those is you help parents sort of figure and navigate this space. And one of the unique spaces is the space of mothers, especially,
and sons.
Raising sons. And I think you have something coming up. Do you just want to mention that to us? And then maybe if somebody would like to reach out to you, how do they reach out to you?
All right. So yes. So as I said, we take care of parents. So mothers and because I am a mother of sons, I have 1 son and I have 2 others who are an extension of their mother, and I understand the dynamics. So we have an event coming up on the 12th of April. It will be 12th and 13th of April at Jumuiya Resort. And we will be having mothers and their sons. Most events take care of mothers separately, but we want to have the mothers and sons together. And we have a lineup of very good speakers. We have DJ Kroba, who was raised a gospel DJ and music producer, who was raised in a single parent home. He has a very interesting story to tell. We have Robert Mbogwa, who's a minister and a corporate guru. He's part of Reverend Judy Mbogwa. He's actually Reverend Judy, the son of Reverend Judy Mbogwa. We have another minister of the word in the Anglican Church. His name is Ray Rida Lawrence Moher. And we have a single mother and a minister, a very active minister. Her name is Pastor Phoebe Waihiga. So those are just some of the few we have. So registration is on our website, www.studenttribe. That Student Tribe is 1 T, not 2, .com. And then you can reach us on 0100 431133. And
maybe more for email if they need the number we are able to provide.
Yes.
But is there an email or
yes, there is. There's events at studenttribe.com.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Remember, the Student Tribe is a single T, not double T. Yes,
right.
but that's it.
Thank you.
We have a parenting series going on, which is just a build-up to that event every Tuesday evening. It's a webinar series. It is free. You can register for it on the website as well.
Oh, wow.
Anyone who
Wonderful.
wants, yes, it's free. This information we are given to empower one another,
That's
so it's
true.
free. Yeah.
That's true. Thank you so much. Maybe a last word in a few seconds before we conclude. Any last word to parents or to children? Yeah.
This one is more to parents because children do not have the ability to comprehend some of these things. First of all, God created us to walk together. So there's no situation that is so difficult. There's not a single situation as a parent that is so difficult for you to tackle. Reach out. Reach out. Reach out to your network, reach out to your pastor, reach out to your family. And if those are not there, reach out to me. I'm happy to. But because there's a God in heaven, every one of us. Even that single parenthood, it has its own dynamics and it has its own blessing to it.
That's true.
There's nothing in this world that God has allowed to happen that will come back and destroy us. No.
Okay, so they reach out.
They reach out. Reach out to the people around you. Reach out. Reach
All right.
out.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your time and for this conversation. I know for the time we had, we could not exhaust everything there is to be said about this subject, but the little that has come out, I pray and hope it will be a blessing, and hopefully people can reach out to you and to those around them.
Indeed.
So that they may find help. Asante sana.
Asante sana,
Thank you very
Reverend.
much.
Okay.
All right. Well, we have come to the end of our conversation for today, and I pray and hope that this has been a meaningful conversation for you. If you need more help, feel free to reach out. We are able to point you to the right help. If you need the contacts of our guest, we're also more eager to share that with you. But also, before I go, another reminder that we continue bringing you programs like this because we have partners, people who come alongside us in order that we may be able to put Jesus on the airwaves as we bring meaningful programs like this ones. Family Media is dependent on donations of partners like you And so I invite you to consider joining us as one of our partners. Feel free to send an SMS with the word partner to 20316 or even to our WhatsApp line 0786316316. And if you would like to give, feel free to do that through paybill number 316316, and for account, just write your phone number. May God help you if you find yourself in a situation where you're a child or a parent in a one-parent home. May God help you for that to turn out to be a blessing and not brokenness, because He is a God that brings beauty out of the ashes. See you next Monday.